against, and 0 not voting. And with that, Dr. Ariola, thank you again for your time. Now we'll go ahead and go to the consent agenda. The proposed items that we have on consent are RS 2024-916, RS 2024-917, 918, 920, 923, 924, 925, 926, 927, 928, 929, 930, 931, 932, 933, 934, 935, 936, 937, 938, 942, 943, 944, 946, 947, 949, and BL 2024-638. Are there any items that anyone would like to bump from the consent agenda? No. Seeing none, we are going to go ahead and read those captions. RS 2024-916, Porterfield approves a contract between the Metropolitan Government and Cyclomedia Technology Incorporated to provide street-level imagery in accordance with the International Association of Assessment Officers Guidelines. RS 2024-917, Porterfield Welsh approves an agreement between the Davidson County General Sessions Court, Division 9, and the University of Tennessee College of Social Work to provide field instruction for social work students as a part of social work MSSW and or BSSW degree programs in the University of Tennessee College of Social Work in Knoxville. RS 2024-918, Porterfield authorized the Metropolitan Public Property Director to sign and record notices of federal interest pursuant to an elementary and secondary school emergency relief ESSER grants from the United States Department of Education to the Metropolitan Government acting by and through the Metropolitan National Public Schools and funded the construction projects on Metropolitan Government property. RS 2024-920, support of Porterfield and Gamble, authorizes the Metropolitan Department and Housing Agency to negotiate and enter into a pilot agreement that accepts payment in lieu of ad valorem taxes with respect to a multi-family housing project located at 100 Tanglewood Court, known as Whispering Oaks. RS 2024-923, Porterfield, Evans, Walsh, and Allen approves a grant contract by and between the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health and Rafa Institute for the provision of and the accountability and restoration conference and safety programs. RS 2024-924, Porterfield, Evans, and Welsh approves a contract by and between the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health and Ascension St. Thomas to make available the potentially eligible individuals who receive inpatient or outpatient prenatal or postpartum services or who accompany minors under the age of 5 receiving pediatric services. Information about WIC program benefits. RS 2024-925, Porterfield, Evans, and Welsh approves a contract by and between the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health and TriStar Centennial Medical Center to make available to potentially eligible individuals who receive inpatient or outpatient prenatal or postpartum services or who accompany minors under the age of 5 receiving pediatric services. Information about WIC program benefits. Thank you. RS 2024-926, Porterfield, Evans, Welsh accepts a direct appropriation grant by the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health to implement and coordinate activities and services related to HIV prevention and surveillance. RS 2024-927, Porterfield, Evans, and Welsh accepts a grant to the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health to promote the recommended vaccines to ensure that Tennessee meets or exceeds the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Healthy People 2030 objectives for immunization coverage. RS 2024-928, Porterfield, Evans, and Welsh accepts a grant from the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health to enhance the health and well-being of women, infants, and families by improving the availability and quality of community resources and service delivery services and to eliminate disparities and reduce the rate of fetal and infant deaths in Tennessee. RS 2024-929, Porterfield, Evans, and Welsh accepts a supporting prevention of adolescents resources knowledge SPARK program grant from the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health to support the prevention of pregnancy among adolescents through resources and increased knowledge and to promote parenting skills for adolescent parents. RS 2024-930, Porterfield, Evans, and Welsh accepts grant and aid funds from the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health to aid in providing a variety of health services to meet the public health needs of Tennessee citizens. RS 2024-931, Porterfield, Evans, and Welsh accepts from the University of Nebraska a grant for expenses to attend the City Match Conference and additional monies for services to integrate support services into the perinatal systems of care to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health, RS 2024-932. Porterville, Evans, and Welsh approves a grant contract by and between the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health, and the Tennessee Justice Center for the provision of assistance and support to individuals enrolling in public benefit programs for health insurance and food assistance. RS 2024-933. Porterville Evans approves a contract between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health and the Board of Regents of the University System of Georgia by and on behalf of the University of Georgia College of Veterinary Medicine for the provision of clinical instruction and experience opportunities for students enrolled in the University of Georgia College of Veterinary Medicine's Veterinary Medical Education Program. RS 2024-934. Porterville, Evans, and Welsh amends resolution RS 2024-775 to replace the exhibit thereto with a revised version for a grant from the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health to provide supplemental food, nutrition, education, and breastfeeding promotion to eligible persons through the Women, Infant, and Children Program. RS 2024-935. Porterville, Evans, and Welsh approves Amendment 1 to a Healthy Start Initiative, eliminating racial and ethnic disparities grant from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health to provide a variety of services and reducing infant mortality for pregnant and parenting women. RS 2024-936. Porterville Evans accepts a grant from the Friends of Metro Animal Care and Control to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health to provide funding for various programs for shelter animals. RS 2024-937. Porterville, Gad, and Welsh accepts an in-kind grant from the Centennial Park Conservancy to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Parks and Recreation to fund improvements at the Parthenon. RS 2024-938. Porterville, Evans, and Welsh approves a sole source contract from the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acting by and through the Nashville Fire Department, Emergency Medical Services Division, and Image Trend LLC to provide data collection and reporting software. RS 2024-942. Prep T. Porterfield, Gamble, and Parker approves an intergovernmental agreement by and between the State of Tennessee Department of Transportation, TDOT, and the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acting by and through the National Department of Transportation and Multimodal Infrastructure, NDOT, for the repair of existing pavement failures and resurfacing of the 5.26 miles of Granny White Pike, State Project Number 19 SAR 1-S8-020. RS 2024-943. Porterfield, Nash, Sepulveda, Porterfield, Gamble, and Parker approves the proposal of the State of Tennessee Department of Transportation, TDOT, to the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acting by and through the National Department of Transportation and Multimodal Infrastructure, NDOT, for NDOT to maintain traffic controls in connection with TDOT's pedestrian and signal improvement project on State Route 11, Nolensville Pike, from Haywood Lane to McNally Drive. RS 2024-944. Porterfield, Gamble, Parker, and Welsh approves a memorandum of understanding, MOU, between the National Department of Transportation and Multimodal Infrastructure, NDOT, the Planning Department of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, Metro Plan, and the Metropolitan Transit Authority of Nashville and Davidson County, MTA, and the Regional Transportation Authority of Middle Tennessee, RTA, collectively the parties, to establish the parties' mutual understanding of their respective responsibilities in the development of a multimodal mobility master plan. RS 2024-946. Porterfield, Parker accepts a donation from MTP PACO Phase 3 Land LLC in the amount of $25,000 as a contribution towards the Pytown Mobility Study regarding roadway infrastructure improvements in the relevant area. RS 2024-947. Porterfield, Gamble, and Parker approves a participation agreement between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County through the National Department of Transportation and Multimodal Infrastructure, NDOT, and GS Gallatin Pike Apartment Owner LLC, Greystar, for the construction of a sidewalk in front of 1401 Gallatin Pike North, Nashville, Tennessee 37115. RS 2024-949. Porterfield and Parker accepts a grant from the State of Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation to the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acting by and through the Metropolitan Department of Water and Sewage Services to provide a lead service line inventory and replacement plan. And on second reading, we have BL 2024-638. Porterfield and Gamble approves a exchange of interest in real property adjacent to the site of the former Hillwood High School. Is there anything that anyone would like to remove from consent? Seeing none, can I get a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the consent agenda passes 8 in favor, 0 against, and 0 not voting. The first item that we have that is not on consent is item number 1, RS 2024-882, Porterfield. An initial resolution determining the issue general obligation bonds of the Metropolitan Government in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $527,170,000. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? It has been moved and properly seconded. Is there anyone that would like to be recognized? Seeing none, is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, say, do you want to be recognized? Councilmember Hancock, you're recognized.
Could I move my amendment, please?
Yeah, oh, that's what I was waiting on. Yes. Can we get somebody from the committee to move the amendment? It's been moved. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilmember Hancock, would you like to speak to your amendment?
Yes. I brought this amendment forward because this is a project that has been on the Greenways Master Plan for decades. It's something that our community in Madison has been advocating for, that I've heard from people across the county, that we heard from about a dozen people at the public hearing meeting last May or June, whenever it is we do our public hearings. And it's something that I think would bring health to the community at large, Madison in particular, which is highest on the rate of asthma. As we wrap up our public health conversation, this is the only thing that I've been asking for. It's my 6th year on council. I'm like fully in, and to demonstrate my buy-in with this, I reached out to the mayor's office and asked for their suggestions on where we could move some money. They couldn't come up with anything because all these items in our budget are so important. So I reached out to the finance office and asked for their advice. And they advised that I move money from the State of Good Repair and the fleet additions. And what I did there is just brought what I call change. If there's $44,750,000, I just asked for the $750,000. Leave the $44 million there. If there's $33,800,000, I just asked for the $800,000. Leave the $33 million there. And then to show that I've really got skin in the game, I looked at the solar project. I'm totally green. I love solar. I have 2 solar panels at my house. But the solar project for 4 community centers was including Madison Community Center. And 0 people in my district have asked for a solar roof on the Madison Community Center. I didn't think it would be a bad thing, but it's, $1.2 million that we could likely use elsewhere. So that's where I found the funds. And this, I think, would be a great benefit to the community, and I'm hoping that you'll support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hancock. I do have a clarification from Director Darby.
Just to clarify, it was the council office that identified the sources of funding to provide the funding changes in the amendment to the CSP, not the finance department.
Councilmember Huffman, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of questions. Is there anybody from NDOT back there?
You can direct them to me, and then I'll call on NDOT.
Director Alarcon, always nice to see you. Just curious to how this is going to affect your overall budget. Looks like line items 1 and 2 specifically take from your, could you speak to that for me?
Director Alarcon, you are recognized.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yes, in the State of Good Repair, we had identified that the dollars for the FYI 25 CSP would be going toward, $500,000 would be going toward lighting and signal infrastructure. So this is upgrading and maintaining the current lighting infrastructure and signals that we have. We also have about $9 million that needs to go toward our bridge and guardrail program. We are actually behind in our bridge repair and guardrail program. So this is allowing us to continue to try to catch up. We also put in $3.2 million, into permit inspectors and development. We do not have these personnels. We actually use consultants. So reducing that is going to leave us with the inability to actually be properly managing our right-of-way. And then we have resurfacing and pavement marking and roadway reconstruction, which we have $27 million in that. And that is actually our pavement project that we currently have ongoing. That has been behind. In the past 3 years, we've been putting a significant dedication toward repaving projects, as well as all the dollars we get through the state to make sure we can bring that up to improving the overall operating conditions of index of our roadway network, which is currently at good, or at poor or below. And then, of course, we have $3 million that's in our sidewalk and bikeway. And just for reference, that is already behind. We just completed funding FYI 21's walk bike plan in the last year's CSP. So this $3 million will start us on FYI 22. So we're even behind in the funding levels we've been receiving for our bike walk plan. So I would have to significantly cut projects that we've been working very diligently to get caught up on and will continue to get caught up on. Some of our projects are based on weather. So we intend on having all of FYI $24 spent by the end of this fiscal year. Right now, we're in a down season because of the weather. We cannot go out and do anything on the roadway network when the temperature gets below an average of 40 degrees. And that's what we've been seeing. So that's why we're kind of in a stuck position. But we do anticipate FYI 24 will be done by the end of the fiscal year.
Thank you, Director
Thank you.
Alarcon. Do you have additional questions or comments, Councilmember Huffman?
Not for Director Alarcon. I don't know. I didn't see anybody from Parks back there. Is anybody from Parks back there?
You could just direct the
Yeah.
question and we'll find somebody to answer it for
Yep.
you.
So just curious in regards to the reduction for solar panels, same question. You know, what are the effects to these buildings long-term? And I'll wait.
We do have a representative from Parks in the back who's coming on up, and if you could just introduce yourself, please.
Good evening, Good evening, Shanita White, Metro Parks Assistant Director of Finance and Administration. In consultation with the mayor's office and the administration, this was a request that we put in for the panels for those particular community centers.
Great. Thank you very
And
much. Appreciate
There's
that.
another, the administration, I believe, would like to chime in on that as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dave Rosenberg with the Mayor's Office. This is something that, a project that we would love to work with Councilmember Hancock on. We know that she feels very strongly about it. With regard to the solar panels, this will be our last opportunity to fund this in a way that we get financial assistance on. I'd also add that it comes with cost savings, energy savings moving forward, so it is not just a full spend. We recoup that money over time. Thank you.
Councilmember Huffman?
No, that's it. Just a quick comment. I can't support this. It sounds like it's just going to do too much damage to the overall budget, so.
Councilmember Cortez, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. This question is for Councilwoman Hancock. I appreciate the position you're in because I know I'm in a similar one in my district as well. Do we know, are these cuts as efficient as they could be? Could we lower the cost, or is this is what you would need to get the project done?
Councilmember Hancock?
Thank you very much. Again, to address the price on this, on the amendment, with NDOT listing their entire $44.75 million list of projects, which are all super important, and I totally understand how they would not want to cut back on any of them. I'm not asking for all of those projects to be cut, only $750,000. Same thing with fleet. It's not the entire fleet budget, only $800,000. The entire cost of this is less than 0.5% of the CSP. This project was number 2 on the council priority list this year. This project was number 1 on the priority list last year. It was number 1 on the priority list the year before that, and it was number 4 on the priority list the year before that. And my goal is to make an emphasis that council might be excited about supporting council prioritized projects. And if we were successful in doing so, then, I'm hoping we could work with our mayor's office to support more council prioritized projects. But to long and the short of your question, the estimated cost of the pedestrian path is $28 million, and so the cost of a feasibility study is 10% of that, so 2.8. And I'm working with Congressman Rose to fund the construction of this so that Metro wouldn't be on the hook for that entire fee, and the feasibility would be what would help determine where the path would go, what it would look like, what it would be called, and you know, what the community thinks about it and what they want to do with it and what they envision. So it would help fund all those community meetings and outreach as well as the actual, you know, plan. Thank you so much for your question.
Any further questions?
No, Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Toombs.
Thank you, Chair. A couple of questions. One is for the administration, because Mr. Rosenberg mentioned the administration wanting to help on this project, and I'm wondering what exactly that means. What type of assistance is the administration willing to give?
Mr. Rosenberg, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Councilmember Weir would like to see if there's anything we can do to see what the support looks like on both sides of this potential project, community support, since it'll be touching more than one council district, understand that, and then figure out what kind of studies can begin to be done to start to move the ball on this project. I know Councilmember Hancock's been looking at this for a good long time now and would like to see some movement on that, and we'd like to support her in it.
And going back to the cost for the feasibility study, because typically with CIB projects, there's a department that has kind of given an estimate of how much the project will cost. Is this $2.8 million? Is that an estimate from a particular department, or is that just an educated guess that it's 10% of the project cost? I guess that's for Councilwoman Hancock.
Councilmember Hancock.
I'm trying to wrap my brain on who did this when we put it in the council priority list many years ago, but I know that the Greenways Commission falls under Parks. I'm not sure if it was someone from the Greenways Commission or someone from Parks, but it was one of those, and they're related, so very similar. Sorry.
Councilmember Toombs.
Just my thought process was maybe a lower amount could be used instead of 2.8, something smaller than 2.8. And perhaps this is something that could be looked at during budget season, just offering an alternative. Because myself, and I'm sure many other council members understand having a project that lingers for years in the CIB and never gets funded. So I definitely sympathize with Councilwoman Hancock and want to support her in getting her feasibility study funded.
Thank you.
That's it. Yeah.
Thank you, Councilmember Toombs. Councilmember Webb, you're recognized.
I just want to say that I support this with Tanya. Congressman Rose is my congressman, and I sent him a letter. We have talked about this, and I just want to concur that he is willing to step up and try to give us the funding for this. And I think I think it would be a good thing, but before we can even do that, the feasibility study has to be done first. But if we can spend 2.7 to get 28, then to me, and that something's going to benefit the Madison community. I don't have a big part of the Madison community, but I do have some part. And I just want to let everybody know that I will be supporting this if it gets to, or I get to vote for it.
Thank you, Councilmember Webb. Could I get clarification on that, though? You said spending $2.7 million to get $28 million. It wasn't my understanding that $28 million will be coming from the federal government. So did I misunderstand that, Councilmember Hancock?
The federal government can pay for construction costs only. They can't pay for the feasibility and the plan. We currently have a guesstimated cost of 2.8 for the feasibility. I don't know how much the plan would cost, but the entire cost is 28. So 28 minus 2.8 minus whatever the plan is, and then that's what the federal government could find a funding source for.
Could potentially find it, or we know for a fact that they're going to fund the whole thing?
Well, it's potentially. They were
Okay.
going to submit it this year, and they had a really strong constituent that is a little bit higher ranking than me. His last name starts with an O, and he had a really important project that has to help the East Bank, which I know is a really important effort here. And I'm just trying to get other really important projects that might not cost quite as lot of money in the outskirts of the county instead of just always being downtown.
Thank you, Councilmember Hancock. Councilmember Huffman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick statement representing the community of Hermitage, who I can tell you have not been in support of this project. Bridge has to go two ways, and this side is definitely not in support. I understand that this is the passion of Councilmember Hancock, but it's definitely a project that my constituents would rather see the money better utilized in other ways to better the city. And just really quickly, Chair, before we do anything serious too with any allocation of money, one thing that I think that we seriously need to consider is a set of community meetings. If we're going to seriously allocate $2.8 million, let's have a meeting in my district. Let's have a meeting in Councilmember Hancock's district. I feel strongly that the results are going to be exactly how we're doing it right here. It'll be in support on her side and not on mine. But if that's the case, at least we have that and we save ourselves $2.8 million. And it can be allocated to the use that's within the budget itself.
Thank you, Councilmember Huffman. Councilmember Cortez, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Again, I appreciate the position Ms. Councilwoman Hancock is in. Can Parks speak to the cost of the feasibility study? Because I know we're looking at a feasibility study in my district and it's significantly less. I just want to make sure, I'd like to find a way, as Councilwoman Toombs had said, to get this done at some point, because to have a project hanging in your district can be very frustrating. But the 2.8 sounds very high to me. I just feel that we might be able to get that done for cheaper. Can Parks speak to that?
Thank you so very much. Do we have someone from Parks that would like to speak to that? And if you could just introduce yourself, please.
Hello, my name's Cindy Harrison. I'm Assistant Director over the Greenways and Open Space Division. We've not put together a budget for a feasibility study. We would really have to see what the scope of that would entail. If it's a project, a feasibility study that goes all the way to 30 or 60% construction documents to determine a cost for the actual bridge construction, then the $2+ million might be appropriate. It really depends on how much work would be done there.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Councilmember Cortez?
Somewhat. Where do you think, so if it was at 30%, like, is there a way you believe this could be done less expensively? Or is it, you really feel that this is where, if they're going to a 70% plan, that's what this is going to cost?
I don't know the answer to that. We've not sat down as a department and put together a budget for the feasibility study.
How long would it take you to put one together if requested?
We'd have to look at our schedule. A few weeks, I think we would, since it is a bridge, probably consult with our NDOT fellow department there as well. So a few weeks.
Okay, thank you. I would like to support Ms. Hancock at some point in this project, but I'd like to have at least Parks speak into it with a budget first. That would be my favorable position.
Thank you so very much. And Councilmember Druffel, I'm going to recognize you, and then I'll come back to Parks if they want to add something to that. So it looks like some conferring happening. Councilmember Druffel, you're recognized.
Yeah, very brief. Thanks, Chair. I have to say the frustration after about now 6 years of not having any district projects in capital is coming to significant frustration with myself. So I get Council Eddy's concern here, but I do agree with moving forward with at least some kind of feasibility study. I guess I'm concerned not knowing the exact amount. But I think we have to give her some latitude to give her an opportunity here to try to do something. Otherwise, we'll never get anything in our districts. Being the number one priority year after year, it seems like we're missing something. And I know there's a lot of capital expenses in our city, infrastructure, but I have to go back to my district every time and say, well, I have a sidewalk to nowhere. I needed 3 blocks, but I can't get it. You know, it's just getting a little bit old after 6 years without getting anything. So I'd like to see some council person get a little something for their district. And that's where I'm standing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Druffel. Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the passion and the attention to detail that Councilmember Hancock has put into this, and I have supported this in the CIB prioritization project a number of times. I sort of agree that I would feel better if we had an honest to goodness budget, and maybe we can figure out a way to get this in the operating budget and make it happen. But my question is to the administration, just with regard to the council prioritization process. I mean, we've worked hard to come up with something that gives us a way to indicate what is most important to the council. And this one really has been high for many, many succeeding years. So if this administration, which granted has not been the one making the decisions for the past 4 years, but if there could become maybe some immediate response now and maybe a longer response later about how the administration might be willing to take into account the council prioritization process. I mean, if that gets looked at all, and if it's just a matter of you have to go past a couple of big things because then you can do more smaller things, or you do quadratic voting, what do I know? But, you know, just a short-term answer of how y'all take into account a process that we spend a lot of time on, coming up with what's important to us and incorporating that into your decisions.
Thank you, Councilmember Allen. Mr. Rosenberg, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Councilmember, the prioritization is something that is taken into account. It's something that the mayor feels passionately about. That has not gone away since he left the council. In this particular case, Parks has, I believe, $90 million in maintenance needs. We have on this a $28 million cost from 2 years ago that no doubt is higher than that now. And it makes it difficult to prioritize, put that ahead of all those countywide needs. I know that, for example, the Juvenile Justice Center, when it was first prioritized, it was the #1 council priority. That was a previous administration, but certainly Councilmember O'Connell recognizes the value of those, and it's speaking with y'all's voice on it. But that by itself can't overrule all the other needs that are there now.
Councilmember Allen.
If I might just ask a follow-up then. And maybe this is a longer-term question, but if there could be some response to, yes, we do look at the top of the list and we try to make sure that we get at least some percentage or some number or something, or, I mean, it would be helpful to us to know that if you can't take the big expensive things at the top, that it does make a difference that we've put some things higher up on that and that we will see those, or just a pledge to include one thing off the list or something would be handy. Because there are some small ones up there, that council members spend some time doing. So, I mean, I think just to top Councilmember Druffel's point, there are 40 of us. We can't all have something in our district every CSP, and I understand that. But since we've put that process together, it would be meaningful to us to know that some of those things do get in, even if it can't be the biggest one. And again, if we can get better numbers and figure out a way to make this happen some way, I would love to see that happen. I'm just reluctant to tinker with the CSP because I know a lot of thought has gone into that as well.
Yeah, thank you. I hear you, and I'll see if there's a way to quantify that. I don't know how to do that standing here right now, but I'll get an answer. Great, thank you.
Thank you so very much. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I would just give a really brief comment. I think it's a little challenging. I definitely want to support Councilmember Hancock, and I know this is something that she's very, very passionate about. So I do want to be able to support my colleague. It does put us in a bit of a bind when it's a bridge that's connecting two communities, and one community wants it and another community does not want it. So that does make it a little challenging. So just for me personally, based on that and the commitment that we've gotten, that the administration is going to try to work towards towards it with also the knowledge that if that does not happen, which I believe it will happen because you said it will happen, but if it doesn't happen, we also have the ability to look at our current budget, and hopefully that will give time for the two communities to have some community meetings, to hopefully get on a more succinct page to determine what both communities would like to see in this project, and then hopefully we could possibly support it through our budgetary process. So for me personally, I'm going to vote no, but I did want to give an explanation as to why. And Councilmember Hancock, thank you for your passion on this, because I can see how passionate you are on this. And as a former district council person, I know how much it sucks when you have something that you've been like working on for a long time and it doesn't quite make it into the CSP, as we're still waiting for Smith Springs Road to be widened after more than 20 years. So I completely understand your position. So I do want to be able to support, and I hope that we get to a place where we can. But with that, I have to vote no today. Is there any other discussion before we take the vote? Seeing none, because I know that we have some yeses and some nos, if you could please raise your hand if you would like to vote yes. 1, 2, 3 yes votes. And then for the no votes, if you could raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. And abstentions. Okay, 3 in favor, 4 against, and 1 abstention. On the committee, is she? She wasn't on the committee. No worries. So that amendment fails, 3 in favor, 4 against, 1 not voting. Is there anyone else that would like to be recognized before we vote on the legislation? Councilmember Toombs?
I'd like to move Councilwoman Styles' amendment for the purpose of discussion.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second? Is there a second from anybody on the committee? Okay, it has now been moved and properly seconded. Councilmember Toombs, would you like to speak to it?
If Director Darby could explain what it does, please.
Director Darby, you're recognized.
The amendment reduces the allocation to the East Bank Infrastructure and Grid by $130,000 and adds funding to the Parks Facilities Master Plan by $130,000. So it simply moves funding from one area to another area.
Thank you, Director Darby.
I believe I
Councilmember
said, can I correct myself really quick? I said parks, but I meant public library.
Councilmember Toombs.
So my understanding of this amendment is that it's for a sign in front of one of the public libraries in Councilwoman Styles' district. Is there someone from libraries that could speak to the sign?
I see some motion, but I don't think it's the motion that we want. Is there anyone here from libraries? And if not, is there anyone from the administration that could speak to it? Seeing no one from libraries, I get a head nod from administration. Mr. Rosenberg, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the library intends to procure a less expensive, more reliable signage than this $130,000 one. Their fear is that if they procure this new one that is proposed in this amendment, that it will be back in the same place next year. So they'd like to get a less expensive, multilingual digital sign to replace it, and would prefer to do it through a 4% allocation, which is more appropriate for this kind of expenditure than a CSP. Additionally, the cut to East Bank funding could have large financial implications for Metro in that if we have to delay right-of-way acquisition, which is our only discretionary money there, even though it's money we're going to have to spend, we could end up paying much more as that land continues to gain in value. So moving this $130,000 for a sign that's not even going to cost that much could then have other implications that are not great.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenberg. Council Lady Toombs.
So is there a commitment from the administration to make sure that that library gets that less expensive sign in the 4%, the next 4% allocation?
Mr. Rosenberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's our intention. They want to make sure they get their materials funded. That's their top priority. And then we'd like to get that funded at the same time.
Vice Chair Toombs.
Okay.
Thank
That's it,
you.
Chair. Thank you.
Clarifying question for Mr. Rosenberg. The library's top priority right now is to get materials for the library, and then they will look at the sign, but they're trying to get their materials first. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's correct. They had a big ask last 4%. They got about half of that funded and are just waiting for the other half.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenberg. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, if I can get all those in favor, say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion fails, 0 in favor, 8 against, and 0 not voting. So now we have the, back to the original motion to approve the CSP with no amendments. Is there any discussion on the CSP with no amendments? Councilmember Evans?
Thank you for recognizing me, even though I'm not on budget. I just wanted to know, kind of based on the discussion, I think the points about like not having district level items kind of included, that is a huge frustration. And of course, we knew that this was going to be even worse with having to fund East Bank priorities to be able to meet those obligations. And so I'm just curious, like what's the pain point? How long are we going to be in this pain? Is it going to be 3 more years every CSP that we're going to be navigating East Bank expenses? And if we have what the projections, I guess, currently are based on the project?
Thank you so very much. I'm going to direct that question to either finance or administration, but whoever to my immediate right that would like to hop on the microphone, that is now a hot mic waiting for you.
Councilmember, I'll have to get back to you on that. I don't know the answer, but I know that there are a lot of expenses ahead. Yeah, thank you.
Any additional questions? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting, and Mr. Mendez scrolled in right in time to miss that question. He walked in right after the vote. The next item that was not on consent is RS 2024-919. Benedict Porterfield and Gamble approves Amendment 1 to a lease agreement by and between Metropolitan Government acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Education and Library Collegiate Academy. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. All opposed, nay. Nay. Anybody not voting? All right, motion carries 7 in favor, 1 against, 0 not voting. The next item that we have on the agenda is RS 2024-921 Porterfield approves a memorandum of understanding to transfer public property administration responsibilities from the Department of Finance to the Department of General Services, along with the related operational activities and personnel. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Allen, I'm gonna go to Vice Chair Toombs. I saw her hand first, and I'm gonna go to Council Lady Allen. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Just want to know the rationale behind moving public property administration from finance to general services.
That is an excellent question. Do we have someone that would like to answer it? You are recognized. If you could introduce yourself, please.
Yes, Mary Jo Wiggins, Finance. There have been a few studies with EY Consulting, and we have been actually talking about this for about the last 5 years, that by putting public properties with general services, there is more efficiency, more effectiveness with the operations. They have so much overlap. And so this has been a little bit in the works and recommended by EY.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Wiggins. Vice Chair Toombs, do you have any additional questions?
That's it, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question about the way we would treat Barnes Fund. I mean, that has been, decisions have been made about surplusing property and assessing whether it could be used for building houses on or not. Some of that goes to the Barnes Fund, and some of it, when it gets sold, that funding goes into the Barnes Fund. Would that change at all under this change of scenario?
Administration, would you like to respond?
Yes, no, there would be no change. I mean, essentially, currently, our entire Public Properties Department is just going to move into general services, but all of the existing roles and responsibilities that exist continue.
So whoever's been making those decisions would continue to make those. Okay, thank you.
Thank you kindly, Councilmember Allen. Councilmember Spain, a man of few words, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just curious, based on the analysis we were given, it sounds like this might at least potentially run afoul of the Metro Charter. I'm just wondering what the administration's response to that is.
Excellent question. If we could have someone from the administration table to respond to that. You're recognized.
The MOU will cover the next 5 years. We have, historically, there are some changes that need to be made to the charter. So eventually, we would prefer to see this as a charter amendment for cleaning up the charter, but the MOU will not put us, it doesn't put us in against the charter. It creates the path for this.
And for the viewing audience, that was Ms. Mary Jo Wiggins with Finance. Did that satisfy your question, Councilmember Spain?
Sort of. It sounds more like it would put us in violation of the charter for 5 years unless we fix it in that time frame. But I think I understand your answer. But thank you.
All right, we have someone from our legal department. If you could just introduce yourself.
Yes, Laura Fox from the Metropolitan Department of Law. I think the right way to look at this would be like a pilot program to see if this works or not. There is a plan to amend the charter, and I think that we're going to make that determination of whether it's a good change or a bad change, and that's going to be very helpful to the process. So I think that's why it's good to go forward with it right now.
Thank you, Ms. Fox. Mr. Spain?
No, that was helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any additional comments, questions, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries 8 in favor, 0 against, and 0 not voting. We're gonna fly all the way to the back. Item 25 on page 9, RS 2024-939, Porterfield, Evans, and Welsh approves amendment 1 to the contract by and between the State of Tennessee Department of Commerce and Insurance and the Metro Nashville Fire Department, NFD, for the provision of annual fire and building safety inspection services for pre-kindergarten and kindergarten through 12th grade students. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? Is there anyone that would like to be recognized? Would you like to be recognized on it? Yep. We're going to call on Councilmember Evans to speak to the amendment, and then we'll ask somebody to, thank you. Councilmember Evans.
Thank you. Could I have a representative from the administration or fire speak to this amendment, please?
Yes, I see Mr. Mark Young making his way to the back. You are recognized, Mr. Young.
Thank you, Chair Lady Evans. This is only an extension to a contract that let me first say that we always do annual inspections to schools, but some years ago, the state wanted to go into contract to make sure that we're doing them, even though we've always done it. And this is just to extend it 1 more year, and probably next year, you're going to see probably a 4-year contract before you.
Thank you. Councilmember Evans, did you want to speak?
No, just that's an excellent explanation, and I have no comment other than thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody on the committee that would like to actually move the amendment? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. I'm going to call on Director Darby.
I just wanted to clarify that the amendment that is the subject of the motion is actually a housekeeping amendment that just changes out the attachment, and it makes a different reference to the attachment. Housekeeping in nature.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? The amendment is approved. Can I get a motion on the resolution as amended? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. We're down to our last two items, y'all. RS 2024-940, Porterfield Evans accepts a statewide school resource officer program grant from the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department to provide funding for the placement of school resource officers in Metropolitan Nashville public and charter schools. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Chair votes nay. Any abstentions? Seeing no abstentions, 7 in favor, 1 against, 1 not voting. And the last item that we have is RS 2024-491 Porterfield. Authorizes the Metropolitan Department of Law to compromise and settle the claims of Kayla McKenzie and Dornetta Peterson against the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County in the amount of $220,000, with said amount to be paid out of the Judgment and Losses Fund. Can I get a motion? Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded, and we do have Allison Bussell and Melissa Roberge with us to answer any questions that anyone may have. Any discussion? Would you all like to speak? No? Okay. All right. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay. Any abstentions or anyone not voting? Motion carries 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Meeting adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.